Hi, good day everyone. Welcome to our video recorded lessons on fundamentals of accountancy, business and management 1. Today, we are going to discuss on module 2, which is on users of accounting information. Before we start our discussion, let me present to you our two learning competencies. Number 1, define external users and give examples. Number 2, define internal users and give examples. Now that you were able to have an overview of what accounting is all about, one asked you as to who the possible users of the accounting information would be. He told you that the PIR and the City Treasurer's Office went to his business site and asked for his registration papers. He also asked you as to how can someone possibly invest in his business. A week after the commencement of the business operations, his staff asked for possible employment benefits. Now, how do you identify these people and agencies in one's business? So of course, you would try to ask, who are these people? Are these people interested on one's business? Are these governmental agencies or private organizations interested in one's business? Users of accounting information refer to entities or stakeholders who have direct or indirect interest over the business. Since the last activity of the accounting process is communication, therefore it is important to identify who the users of such accounting information. The users are divided into two, internal and external. Expectedly, those internal users are those people who are inside the company or those persons within the company who have direct interest over the operations. Number 1, owner. These are the people who owns the business and ultimately the one who finances to run its operations. Of course, the owner is considered as an internal user because he is the one who decides what's best for his business and what strategies or what would be the possible opportunities that he has to grab as he go along the operations of his business. Number 2, managers. These are the people hired to oversee the business operations. So the financial statements shall be given to the managers because in the decision-making process, usually the manager does the business decisions and the owners should be the one who's gonna approve the decisions of the managers. They are the ones who run the business in case of owner's physical absence, especially when the business size is large, wherein the owner could no longer man the business. Of course, if your business is sari-sari, then the owner is also the manager at the same time. But if you are an owner of a big department store and you cannot man the operations because of its very large size, then of course you should hire a manager, and the manager recommends the decisions made by them to you so that you will be able to decide what's best for your business. Number 3, employees and labor unions. These are the laborers of your company and they have a direct interest over the business because this will help them assess their employment status in the company. If you are an employee of SM Corporation, you would like to know on the financial standing of SM Corporation, whether it would be still running in the next 5 years or not, because of course, you have to also consider your tenureship in the company. You might think of transferring to a more stable company if you think that your company, based on financial statements, is not performing well. Okay, next we have external users. So those are our possible internal users. We also have other internal users which were not mentioned, say for instance, accountant inside the company. Who else? The janitor. These are the employees. So usually they were categorized on the different areas of employees, which involves janitors, the rank and file employees. Well, for the executive department, we have the managers, the supervisors, and of course the owners. Now let's go to the external users. Who are the external users? And why do we consider them as external users? Of course, by definition itself, again, these are the persons or entities outside the company who have indirect interest over the company. Why? Because they are outside the company. They might have an interest, but an indirect one. but they might need your financial information. Number one, investors. They do not they do not involve themselves with the operations of the business, but they have an interest over the business. So these are the people who would want to invest for the company, especially if they see the good performance of the company. So the owner wanted to have investors, and he's actually looking for investors in the company to finance the operations. So he would like to ask investors to invest by showing the financial statements of the company. So the investors would like to ask for the financial statements, and based on the financial statements, he will have to make the decisions whether he would be investing or not to the company. Number two, creditors. If you want to obtain loan from creditors, you are required to present your financial statements. That is also required by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, that you have to present your financial statements to the creditors. Of course, because they will have to assess your profitability, whether you could be able to pay your loans or not. You also have to assess your liquidity. So later on, as we go along our weekly modules and topics, we will know more on what liquidity, what solvency, what profitability is all about. Number three, suppliers. Since not all inventories are purchased through cash, suppliers provide goods to the company for resale on a credit basis. So there are times that we cannot afford to buy our supplies on cash basis. That's why we have to do it on credit, or in Bisaya and Filipino, it's utang. Okay? So we make utang, we make credit to our suppliers, and of course, the suppliers have to assess your financial standing and your performance, whether you can pay off your debt. Of course, they would not lend you, or they would not extend credit to you if your company is losing, right? So they have to assess also using your financial statements whether you could pay a certain sum of money come at a time na your liability becomes due and demandable. Next, we have our customers and consumers. Our customers are those who patronize the products or services of a business wherein they assess the company's position and performance to ensure them continuous supply of quality goods and services for consumption. So say for instance, I usually use Master's moisturizer in my face and my neck. So of course, I have an indirect interest over Master's company, pharmaceutical or beauty products, I believe. So I have an indirect interest over that company because I've been using that one for many years until now. So I have to see to it that I would be able to have a continuous supply of the goods that they are actually offering to the public. So like you also have your goods, you also patronize services from the different suppliers of goods and services in your different localities. Number five, another stakeholder which has an indirect interest of your company are your competitors. Example, Philippine Airlines, Cebu Pacific, and Air Asia. So these are actually the major air companies in the Philippines. So of course, Philippine Airlines would want to know whether Cebu Pacific is doing well with their promotional offers as regards to airfare and with Air Asia. So they have to make ways, they have to strategize so that they would be able to be at par with those two companies. Or say for instance, on the other hand, Cebu Pacific want to look at the financial statements of Philippine Airlines and Asia because they wanted to know that this strategy is effective to the two companies. Therefore, Cebu Pacific would like to employ also the strategy the same to that of Philippine Airlines and Air Asia. So competitors, because these big companies are actually publicly listed, meaning to say that their financial statements are available to the public because they are publicly listed companies. So, of course, the competitors would take the advantage to ask or to view their accounting information and the financial statements because primarily for benchmarking purposes, right? So they can adapt the best practices of the company as well. Next, tax authorities. Our tax authorities, say for example, BIR. The BIR is the primary agency responsible in collecting national taxes in the Philippines. while the local government unit, specifically the Treasurer's Office, is responsible for collecting local taxes. So if you want to pay donor's tax, VAT, percentage tax, or whatever would that national tax would be, you have to pay it with the Bureau of Internal Revenue. While if you want to pay business taxes related to local taxes, such as permits, licenses, um, uh, taxes in relation to your business gross sales, every year, so you have to pay it with the local government unit. Of course, that is part of the business permit processing of your documents. Okay, so they wanted to assess the credibility of the financial statements, whether the business are remitting the right tax to the government. So you have to, especially the BIR, they are very strict. There are times that they need your financial statements to be audited by an external auditor. So to maintain the integrity also and the authenticity of the documents that you have submitted with the BIR, whether they are true and correct. Okay, so you have to submit documents, financial statements to the Bureau of Internal Revenue. Next, number 7, regulatory agencies, examples of which are DTI. If you are a sole proprietorship business or a business having one owner, you register it with DTI. You also have SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. If your business is of a partnership or corporation, then you have to register it with SEC, partnership, 2 or more owners of the business or corporation, and of course, this needs incorporators or the original owners of the corporation to register with SEC. If you are in a business of cooperatives, then you register it with CDA or Cooperative Development Authority. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is also a regulatory agency, especially in businesses. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas regulates banks. Diba? So they have to strictly monitor the banks. So the BSP could also be a regulatory agency as well. The mayor's office also is a regulatory agency because they are the ones, or this is the office responsible in granting permits or business permits to the different establishments. Are some of the regulatory agencies wherein they are after for the disclosure of sufficient accounting information to ascertain compliance to existing rules and regulations. And we have our lawmakers or our legislators, our council, our board members, our congressmen, our senators. They are the one who make use of accounting information in order to make laws beneficial to business enterprises such as tax amnesties, loan extensions, and other programs relative to specific businesses. So they have to make laws. They have to make laws for the betterment of the establishments or for the enterprises or for the business sector. So the train law was actually made by the Congress in the time of President Duterte. They have to make laws which are most likely beneficial to the business owners. At the same time, the government will also benefit during the existence of the business. Now, if you could remember ABS-CBN Corporation, if you could remember their franchise, they were on hot seat with legislators in the Congress because, of course, the legislators are the one who makes these laws, and in that parlance or in that case, it is the Congress or vested in the legislative department to grant franchises to these businesses. So, of course, the congressmen who were asking for financial statements from ABS-CBN Corporation, there were auditors, there were accountants coming from the ABS-CBN Corporation that presented during the hearings in the Congress. Diba? If you could remember. Okay? And lastly, we have the public. The public uses of financial information for possible employment and research purposes for the welfare of the public. So these are our users of financial information or accounting information. Again, this can be or they could be classified according to their use. It could be an internal or they could be external. So that's it for our week 2. The users of accounting information. I hope that you were able to learn from our lesson today. That's it for today. See you in lesson 3. I hope you have a good day. Thanks and goodbye.